roads. They're not all created equal. Some are built in the most extreme environments on the planet. These roads cut through environments braving ice, heat, and rugged terrain to connect the seemingly unreachable. Join me, I'm counting down 15 roads built to handle extreme environments. Starting with number 15, the Taroko Gorge Road. So, the Taroko Gorge Road, it's also known as the Zongbu Cross Island Highway. It is one of the most daring and ambitious roads ever built. Stretching 73 miles across Taiwan's rugged mountains, it connects Jinchen Township on the east coast with Renai in the west, cutting through the terrain of Taroko National Park. Its creation was no small feat, and the dangers that persist along this route make it a white-knuckle journey for even the most experienced drivers. The road was originally carved into the mountains in the 1950s by the Republic of China Armed Forces. Now, its primary goal was to create a connection between Taiwan's east and west coasts through the mountains. Workers, many of them conscripts, used basic tools and explosives to chisel the highway out of marble cliffs, enduring harsh conditions and frequent accidents. Some sections are so narrow that only a single vehicle can pass at a time, making navigation a test of patience and precision. The natural environment here also adds another layer of danger. Typhoons bring torrential rain, triggering landslides and rockfalls that can block the road or send debris tumbling down. The region is also seismically very active, with frequent earthquakes. Flash floods from the Liwu River occasionally wash out sections of the road, adding to the challenge. Now, maintaining this road is an ongoing battle. Crews have to frequently clear landslides and reinforce unstable sections of the cliffs with steel nets and retaining walls. But the worst risks on this road stem from those rockfalls and landslides and head-on collisions in its narrow sections, and sadly, the Gorge Road is no stranger to accidents. Number 14, the Sani Pass. The Sani Pass is a treacherous mountain road in the Drakensberg Mountains that connects South Africa to Lesotho. Originally built in the 1950s as a trade route, it allowed goods like wool and mohair to flow from Lesotho to South Africa and facilitated the return of essentials such as food and clothing. The mountains here form a dramatic backdrop for this pass. The road starts at an elevation of about 5,000 feet and ascends to about 9,400 feet over just 5.6 miles. This sharp climb includes gradients of up to 1 in 3, making it one of the steepest roads in the region. Winters bring snow and ice, further complicating navigation, while summer rains turn the dirt into a slick, muddy challenge. Wildlife as eland and jackals can sometimes be spotted, while birdwatchers might see the rock jumper or bearded vulture soaring overhead. The air grows thinner as the ventures climb. Drivers must contend with strong winds and rapidly changing weather. Heavy fog up here is common, especially near the summit, obscuring both the path ahead and the steep drops below. Potholes, loose rocks, and erosion create additional obstacles. Vehicles that fail to navigate those hazards often end up at the bottom of the cliffs, and remains a stark reminder of the pass's dangers. Storms can also wash away parts of the road, stranding travelers or forcing them to turn back. Efforts to improve Sani Pass have been ongoing for years. Phase 1 of an upgrade project completed in 2012 focused on stabilizing the lower sections of the road. Phase 2, which included re-graveling the final stretch and enhancing the drainage, remains partially complete as of 2021. The worst-case scenario on Sani Pass is a vehicle losing control on a steep incline or on a hairpin turn, leading to a fatal plunge. While exact statistics on accidents are pretty scarce, numerous incidents have been reported over the decades. But thankfully, modern safety measures and experienced guides have reduced these occurrences, but the risk always remains. Number 13, Trollstigen. Trollstigen, located in Norway, is a road of extremes. It's known as the Troll Path. This serpentine route was opened in 1936 after 8 years of construction. The road was designed to handle Norway's mountain environment, which would create a lifeline through one of the country's most challenging landscapes. And over the decades, Trollstigen has undergone multiple upgrades to improve its safety. Between 2005 and 2012, several sharp bends were widened, and measures were taken to protect against rockfalls. The environment here is dramatic and unforgiving. Sheer cliffs rise thousands of feet into the sky, while the valley below is dotted with waterfalls, including the iconic Stigfossen, which drops over 1,000 feet. The road ascends to an elevation of about 2,700 feet, navigating 11 sharp switchbacks along the way. The road's blanketed in snow and ice during the long winters, forcing it to close late autumn until mid-May. Even during summer, fog and sudden rainstorms can make visibility and traction a serious issue. Trollstigen is narrow, with sections barely wide enough for 2 vehicles to pass. Vehicles longer than 41 feet are generally prohibited, although exceptions have been made. But one of the most significant dangers here is weather. Rapidly changing conditions can catch drivers off guard, with freezing rain turning the surface slick and dense fog obscuring the path. In extreme cases, vehicles have slid off the road or become stranded. The worst recorded accidents here involved vehicles losing control on icy or wet surfaces, leading to falls from the edges. However, those occurrences are rare thanks to ongoing maintenance and restrictions on vehicle size. Trollstigen requires constant upkeep. Rockfall protection systems and drainage improvements have been added to prevent erosion and minimize the risks. But the road typically opens in May, although heavy snow years may delay access until June. It closes in early October when the freezing conditions make it really unsafe. Number 12. I-80 through the Donner Pass. Interstate 80's route to the Donner Pass represents a significant accomplishment in adapting modern infrastructure to one of the most challenging natural environments in the U.S. Donner Pass, at 7,056 feet above sea level, has been a vital transportation corridor for centuries. From early settlers navigating the California Trail to the construction of the first transcontinental railroad, this pass has long served as a critical gateway through the Sierra Nevada. In the 1960s, I-80 was built to modernize this route, paralleling the historic U.S. Route 40, but with safer, more gradual grades and broader lanes to accommodate high traffic volume. Donner Pass is known for its weather conditions. It's situated above Donner Lake and surrounded by towering peaks. This area receives an average of 411 inches of snowfall annually, with some years exceeding 800 inches. Wind gusts frequently reach over 100 miles an hour, and temperatures can plunge below zero during winter storms. The rocky terrain and dense snowfall here make this region not only beautiful, but also treacherous. The grade of the road is kept between 3 to 6% for about 30 miles, ensuring a more gradual ascent compared to earlier routes. Snow tunnels, avalanche control systems, and reinforced embankments help protect the road and its travelers. Vehicle accidents here are not uncommon, particularly during the winter. Chain control checkpoints ensure vehicles are equipped to handle icy conditions, but jackknife semi-trucks, stalled vehicles, and pileups still happen. The steep grades can also lead to brake failures for trucks, making runaway ramps a necessary feature. Maintaining I-80 through here is a year-round effort. In winter, snowplows operate around the clock to keep the road clear. During the summer, crews repair the damage caused by freeze-thaw cycles and inspect retaining walls, bridges, and the tunnels for signs of wear. Controlled detonations are used to preemptively release snow buildup, and helicopters sometimes deploy explosives to trigger small avalanches in a controlled manner, of course. Number 11. The Chinghai-Tibet Highway. The Chinghai-Tibet Highway, stretching about 1,200 miles from Chining in the Chinghai province to Lhasa in Tibet, is one of the world's highest and most challenging roads. Officially part of China National Highway 109, this route ascends the Tibetan Plateau, climbing to elevations above 17,000 feet at its highest, the Tanggula Pass. This highway is often referred to as the lifeline of Tibet, and it's played a pivotal role in connecting Tibet with the rest of China, carrying 85% of all goods into the region. Now, construction began in May of 1954 with the initial goal of establishing a reliable overland connection to Tibet's remote plateau. At the time, the challenges were unprecedented. Workers contending with oxygen levels nearly half of those at sea level, brutal temperatures often plunging below freezing, and a rugged landscape marked by permafrost and vast barren expanses. Over the decades, the highway underwent numerous upgrades, including a complete paving in 1985, transforming it into a fully asphalted road. It travels over some of the most extreme environments on Earth. For nearly 600 miles, the road lies at altitudes exceeding 14,000 feet. The thin air at these elevations significantly impacts both human physiology and your vehicle performance. Drivers have to contend with reduced oxygen, which can lead to altitude sickness, while internal combustion engines operate at reduced efficiency, leading to slower speeds and potential breakdowns. Permafrost underlies much of the road, presenting some unique challenges. As temperatures fluctuate, the ground beneath can thaw and refreeze, causing frost heave, which damages the road surface. Special asphalt was developed to resist those effects, incorporating thermal resistance properties and specific designs to minimize any damage. The upkeep of the road requires constant monitoring and repairs, with crews often battling the same extreme condition as their drivers. Specialized strategies like laying geotextile materials and employing insulation layers help mitigate the effects of the frost heave and ensure the road remains passable year-round. Number 10. The Guoliang Tunnel Road. For generations, the 350 residents of Guoliang lived in near total isolation, accessible only by a treacherous set of steep stairs called the Sky Ladder. These stairs were not suitable for transporting goods or facilitating regular travel. Frustrated by government inaction, the villagers decided to take matters into their own hands. In 1972, a group of 13 villagers with no formal training began the monumental task of carving a tunnel road through the cliffs. Using basic tools like hammers and chisels, they worked tirelessly for 5 years. Tragically, though, several workers lost their lives in the process, but in 1977, the villagers completed a tunnel stretching 3/4 of a mile, measuring 16 feet high and 13 feet wide. Though rudimentary in construction, the road immediately improved access to the outside world. The tunnel was carved into sheer vertical cliffs, creating a winding, narrow passage with openings along the sides. Those openings allow light to filter into the tunnel and provide some ventilation, but they also reveal the dizzying drop-offs just inches away from the road's edge. Driving the tunnel road is not for the faint of heart. The width only allows for careful passage of vehicles, often requiring drivers to yield or back up to let oncoming traffic through. The open sections of the tunnel provide breathtaking views, but they also expose drivers to the possibility of falling debris. But given its origins, the road is far from standard in terms of modern infrastructure. Local authorities now oversee minimal upkeep, addressing issues like rock falls and surface erosion. However, repairs are often delayed and the road's narrow design leaves little room for significant upgrades. In addition to the practical role of the tunnel, the road has become a bit of a tourist attraction, drawing visitors eager to experience its thrills. However, traveling the road as a foreigner can't be achieved without acquiring a special permit beforehand. The village has adapted to this newfound attention by offering accommodations and facilities, but its remote charm remains intact, thankfully. Number 9. Taiwan's Central Cross Island Highway. The Central Cross Island Highway, known as Provincial Highway 8, is one of Taiwan's most vital routes, connecting the island's eastern and western coasts. Construction began on July 7, 1956, with the aim of opening up central Taiwan for economic development and military purposes. By May 9, 1960, the highway was officially open to traffic. However, the path the road would carve through Taiwan's heart would be anything but straightforward. Spanning about 125 miles, the Central Cross Island Highway starts in the west at the Dongxi district in Taichung and stretches to the east, ending at the Suhua Highway, which runs along Taiwan's eastern coastline. The highest point of the highway stands around 9,800 feet, which places it right in the heart of one of the most seismically active regions in the world. The route cuts through some of the most rugged and unstable terrain Taiwan has to offer, making the road a true feat of construction. Earthquakes, particularly those like the devastating Gigi earthquake in 1999, have repeatedly torn up sections of the highway, forcing closures and long periods of repair. In fact, the highway between Gongguan and Lishan was permanently closed to non-residents due to this damage, creating a permanent disruption. To cope with frequent seismic activity, the road's foundations are reinforced with heavy-duty material that allows for some flexing without collapsing. Bridges and tunnels along the route are also constructed to absorb shocks from earthquakes using steel and reinforced concrete. Elevated sections of the highway also help reduce the risk of floodwaters or landslides washing away the road, and additionally the road's equipped with extensive drainage systems. The terrain here along the route is further stabilized with retaining walls and barriers to prevent landslides from covering the highway. However, maintaining these structures requires constant vigilance. The government dedicates considerable resources to monitoring its condition, ensuring that repairs are made quickly after any disaster. Number 8. The Pamir Highway. The Pamir Highway, known formally as the M41, is a rugged and remote road that traverses the towering Pamir Mountains across Afghanistan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, and Kyrgyzstan. Stretching over 750 miles, this route is not only one of the highest international highways in the world, peaking at 15,300 feet at the I80 Pass, but also one of the most challenging. It connects isolated regions, and it's served as a vital lifeline for centuries. From its origins as part of the ancient Silk Road to its modern status as a crucial route through Central Asia, the highway embodies the resilience required to navigate one of Earth's harshest environments. The highway cuts through an environment as hostile as it is breathtaking. The Pamirs, often called the roof of the world, are vast, high-altitude plateaus surrounded by craggy peaks, icy rivers, and barren valleys. Here, the thin air challenges even the most seasoned travelers. Snowstorms and high winds can arise without warning, transforming the road into an impassable hazard. Villages and rare outposts of human habitation punctuate the desolate landscape, offering a brief respite in an otherwise inhospitable region. The road itself is narrow, often reduced to a single lane bordered by these steep drops. Landslides, rockfalls, and avalanches frequently obstruct the route, creating perilous conditions. The high altitude presents its own challenges. Fuel stations and repair facilities are few and far between, necessitating careful preparation for any journey along this route. While some stretches can benefit from periodic upkeep, much of the route remains in a state of disrepair. The lack of consistent maintenance does show the region's remoteness and the logistical challenges of preserving infrastructure. Landslides have been known to bury sections of the road, and vehicles have skidded off its precarious edges into the ravines below. In winter, travelers risk becoming stranded in sub-zero temperatures, while survival depends on adequate supplies and preparation. While comprehensive records of disasters are scarce, anecdotal accounts from travelers highlight the ever-present risks of this journey. Moving on to number 7, Tianmen Mountain Road. Tianmen Mountain in the northern Hunan province is a prime example of nature's raw beauty and daunting terrain. The road leading to its summit, Tunting Avenue, is not just a simple path for cars, it's an extreme challenge for any vehicle and driver. The history of the road begins with the recognition of the mountain as a natural wonder, attracting visitors from all over. However, creating a road to reach the summit was no easy feat. The road is known for its 99 hairpin bends. It was designed with the intent to provide access to a cave, a natural arch known as Heaven's Door. The road had to be carefully built to navigate the almost vertical mountain slopes, dense forests, and the unpredictable weather. The mountain rises 4,200 feet above the city, creating a towering presence visible from miles away. The road itself is 6.8 miles long, and it climbs steeply, winding its way through those 99 bends. The gradient of the bends reaches 37 degrees, making the climb an uncomfortable but exhilarating experience. The further you ascend, the more the view opens up, offering amazing vistas of the surrounding mountains and valleys. But the combination of winding roads, unpredictable weather, and slippery conditions is a constant hazard. Drivers can expect sudden changes in weather, from thick fog that obstructs the views to sudden rainstorms that turn the road into a slippery mess. A single misstep here could send your car tumbling down the mountain. But one of the most daunting sections is near the summit, where the narrow path squeezes between cliffs. The high altitude means that drivers also have to contend with reduced air pressure, which can affect both the engine's performance and the braking system. Although the road is well maintained with regular upkeep, as such road repairs, clearing debris after storms, the extreme nature of this environment means that the road is never truly safe. Number 6, Fairy Meadows Road. Fairy Meadows Road is not just a road, it's a challenge. It's a test of nerves and a journey through one of the most perilous and beautiful landscapes on the planet. Located in the Gilgit-Baltistan region of Pakistan, this 9.9-mile stretch of high mountain track is famous for its steep ascents, narrow passages, and lack of guardrails. Connecting the Karakoram Highway to the village of Tato, which sits just below the stunning Fairy Meadows, this road offers access to a remote part of the world, but at a substantial risk. It was built in the 1970s with the aim of facilitating access to the area, but it remains unpaved and largely unmaintained. It cuts through a landscape that seems to exist outside the realm of everyday life. As it ascends, it rapidly gains altitude, reaching 8,000 feet in just a few miles. And as the road snakes its way through, drivers are treated to sweeping views of snow-capped peaks, deep valleys, and turbulent rivers. However, the road's breathtaking beauty is also its greatest danger. There are no guardrails, and the road is largely unmaintained. Sections of the road become so narrow that near the end, vehicles have to stop, and travelers are forced to walk or cycle the remaining distance. On one side, the mighty Nanga Parbat towers over the road, its cliffs often veiled in clouds. On the other side, the dense forest and rocky terrain of the Himalayan foothills leave little room for error. One of the most dangerous stretches of the road is a 6-mile ascent where the road climbs steeply towards the village of Tato and the ferry Meadows. The lack of guardrails here means that any small mistake could lead to a fatal outcome. The combination of altitude and poor road conditions can cause mechanical failures in your vehicle, particularly in the braking systems, which are crucial. During winter, the road is completely closed, as heavy snowfalls and landslides makes it totally impassable. It's not maintained by any official body, and the local population relies on community efforts to keep the road clear. Number 5. The Trans-Sahara Highway. The Trans-Sahara Highway, also known as the Road of Life, stretches 2,800 miles from Algiers in Algeria to Lagos in Nigeria. Originally conceived as a connection between the northern and sub-Saharan Africa, the highway has become a test of endurance for those who dare to attempt it. Though much of it is paved, the road is still riddled with sections of sand tracks and unmaintained stretches, making it a brutal route. It cuts through vast areas of the Sahara Desert, an expanse of sand dunes, rocky plateaus, and barren landscape. During the day, temperatures can soar, reaching up to 122 degrees Fahrenheit, with little respite during the night. For drivers, this presents one of the most serious challenges: unpredictable sand drifts that can obscure the road entirely, leaving travelers stranded or lost. Water and fuel here are scarce along much of the road, and drivers have to carry extra supplies for the trip, as there are few towns or fueling stations here. A flat tire or mechanical failure could quickly become life-threatening if the nearest mechanic is hundreds of miles away. The area is known for instability, and travelers are required by law to hire local escorts to navigate through the most dangerous sections of the road. Even so, the real danger lies in the desert itself. It's an unforgiving and relentless environment. The most obvious risk here is the danger of getting stranded in the middle of the desert. With no immediate help available, a traveler could be left in the harsh conditions for days. With visibility near zero, even a seasoned desert driver can easily become disoriented, making the risk of getting lost here a real threat. But to withstand the extreme conditions, the highway is designed with a series of adaptations aimed at keeping it operational. Sand drift barriers are installed along strategic locations designed to minimize the buildup of sand that would otherwise obscure the road. And in some parts of the road, the surface is raised above the surrounding desert to prevent it from being swallowed. Local authorities and road maintenance crews work tirelessly to clear sand drifts and repair damage caused by extreme conditions, but much of the responsibility falls to the travelers themselves. You gotta be self-sufficient when traversing these remote stretches. Number 4. The Kolyma Highway. The Kolyma Highway, stretching over 1,160 miles from Yakutsk in the Sakha Republic to Magadan in the Russian Far East, and it's long been infamous. This road wasn't built for convenience or leisure, but out of necessity. Constructed during one of the darkest periods in Soviet history. In the 1930s, political prisoners were forced to build the road using primitive tools and endure extreme conditions. Magadan, once a major hub for the Soviet Gulag system, remains associated with hardship and suffering. Today, though, the road is mostly unpaved and it remains a dangerous and remote stretch. During the winter here, which lasts for 10 months of the year, snowstorms and ice make the road nearly impossible to navigate. Visibility becomes severely reduced here, making it difficult for drivers to navigate, especially in storms. When the weather warms up, though, this highway takes on a completely different, equally as hazardous character. Summer rains turn the road into a thick, impassable mud bath. The mud is so pervasive that only special off-road vehicles, or those with expert driving skills, even stand a chance of getting through. Maintaining this highway, though, is a monumental task. In 2008, a section of the road was bypassed, leaving it abandoned and left to the harsh Siberian wilderness. Here, collapsed bridges and flooded roads are daily occurrences, providing a stark reminder of how little remains of the original infrastructure. However, sections of the road are occasionally repaired and paved, but those efforts are inconsistent. The road's maintenance is essential, particularly in keeping it clear of mud during the summer months. But the sheer remoteness of the area, combined with the weather conditions, makes upkeep a constant battle. While reports of fatal accidents are difficult to verify, many travelers and drivers recount near-death experiences. The worst ones here involve cars becoming stuck in deep mud, left stranded in the cold or heat, and waiting days for rescue in an environment where conditions can quickly become life-threatening. In fact, much of the route is deserted, with minimal resources available for travelers. With very few services or fuel stations along the way, one of the worst things that could happen is a mechanical failure. The stretches of wilderness, it's home to dangerous wildlife, including bears, which have been known to pose a risk, particularly when vehicles become stranded. Number 3. Leh Manali Highway. The Leh Manali Highway, a 260-mile stretch of road that connects Manali in Himachal Pradesh to Leh, the capital of Ladakh, is a road that demands respect. It's constructed through one of the harshest terrains on Earth that connects two vastly different worlds, the green, lush valleys of the Kulu region to the stark, high-altitude deserts of Ladakh. The highway itself was developed by the Border Roads Organization of the Indian Army, primarily to support military logistics, and while the initial construction began decades ago, it's been continuously upgraded to meet the needs of both civilian and military traffic. The highway's open for just about 6 months each year, from the first week of May to October, when the snow clearance makes it passable. During the winter months from October to May, the high-altitude passes are completely closed due to snow and the freezing temperatures there. The completion of the Atal Tunnel in 2020 has allowed for a more consistent access to the region, though other areas of the highway still remain seasonally impassable. The average elevation of the highway here is over 13,000 feet, with the highest point sitting at 17,480 feet. The environment is brutal. Snow-capped peaks remain in view almost year-round, while the valleys below are often filled with glaciers that melt and swell into fast-flowing streams during the day. Traveling along this highway isn't for wimps. The high altitude can cause severe health issues such as acute mountain sickness, which is common for those who ascend too quickly without proper acclimatization. Symptoms of AMS include dizziness, nausea, headaches, and vomiting, and can lead to fatalities if not properly managed. The numerous Bailey bridges, which are in the process of being replaced with steel bridges, are also precarious and can be challenging to navigate in certain conditions. But one of the worst scenarios that can happen here is getting a vehicle stranded in the high-altitude regions where temperatures drop sharply at night. The lack of reliable fuel stations along the route, too, has posed a serious challenge, as travelers often run out of fuel in the middle of nowhere. Though a few stations have been installed, a 210-mile stretch still remains without a fueling option, meaning that drivers have to plan meticulously to avoid running out. Number 2. The Karakoram Highway. The Karakoram Highway is a remarkable feat of engineering, stretching about 800 miles from Hassan Abdal in Pakistan to the Karakoram Pass, where it crosses into China's Xinjiang region. It's located in one of the most challenging environments on Earth. This road climbs through the Karakoram mountain range, and it's often considered to be the world's highest paved highway. The construction of it was no small task. It required the labor of 24,000 workers over a period of more than 2 decades, starting in 1959. It was completed in 1979 as a joint effort between Pakistan and China. Now, it's not just a matter of crossing distance, but navigating one of the world's most treacherous areas. It winds its way through high-altitude mountain passes, including the Karakoram Pass, which sits at 15,460 feet above sea level. With such an elevation, the highway faces extreme weather, including snow, intense heat, and even earthquakes. Drivers have to contend with steep inclines, narrow paths, and tight turns, while those high altitudes can cause sickness. Along the mountainous sections, the road is frequently reinforced to withstand frequent rockfalls, and sections prone to avalanches are cleared as needed to ensure safe passage. It's particularly vulnerable to shifting glaciers, though, which complicate both the construction and maintenance of the route. In fact, glaciers can unpredictably advance, eroding the road and causing damage. Though the road is generally passable, its upkeep remains a challenge. Constant repairs are necessary to fix the damage caused by rockfalls and avalanches. From November to March, the section of road that passes through the Karakoram Pass is really vulnerable in the winter months. From November to March, the entire section is closed due to heavy snow, making it impassable for any traffic. But the worst-case scenario here on the Karakoram Highway is the combination of natural disasters like landslides or earthquakes happening during transit. In the worst instances, these events could strand travelers in remote sections with limited access to rescue. Now, in terms of real-life danger, the construction of the road itself claimed many lives. The hazardous conditions, including the risk of rockfalls, avalanches, and glacier movements, resulted in the deaths of several workers during the project. Despite the risks, though, the road's remote nature, it does also provide a sense of isolation and adventure. And this makes it a popular route for tourists seeking to experience the thrill of one of the most challenging roads on the planet. Number 1. The James Dalton Highway. Stretching across a variety of environments, the Dalton Highway takes travelers from dense forests to the tundra, crossing the Yukon River and climbing over the Brooks Range. The terrain, while visually stunning, is far from welcoming. The road is a mix of paved and gravel surfaces with only 109 miles paved. The Dalton Highway cuts through Alaska's subarctic to polar climate zones where temperatures in the winter months can plunge to -80 degrees Fahrenheit. In the summers, temps can fluctuate between 70 degrees Fahrenheit and 50 at lower elevations, but drop significantly as the road climbs into the Brooks Range. The highway is notorious for the extreme conditions here that challenge even experienced drivers. With only 3 villages along the entire route, Coldfoot, Wiseman, and Dead Horse, motorists have to prepare for long stretches with no access to food, fuel, or shelter. Fuel is available at just 3 locations along the road, so drivers have to plan accordingly. And while there are rules in place, such as always driving with the headlights on, giving large trucks the right of way, and staying on the right side of the road, the reality is that the road is often in poor condition. Large trucks which dominate the road create thick clouds of dust, mud, and gravel, which can obscure your vision, making it difficult for you to see what lies ahead. Potholes, some of the size of moon craters, can appear without warning, creating a risk of vehicle damage or even loss of control. The terrain is dangerous, with steep grades of up to 16% and winding curves. The road crosses the Brooks Range, and the highest point, I80 Pass, rises to 4,700 feet, where winter storms and icy conditions can make driving treacherous. While despite its remote nature, this highway is maintained year-round. The Alaska Department of Transportation regularly grades the gravel sections of the road and clears the snow during the winter months to keep it passable. Due to the permafrost that lies beneath the roadbed, the highway requires constant maintenance to prevent it from sinking or shifting. Culverts are used to divert snowmelt and rainwater from the road, but there is still the potential for the road to become treacherous in the event of a flood, thaw, or avalanche. But what makes the Dalton Highway different from other remote roads in the world is not only the location, but the extreme weather here faced year-round. It's often described as the ultimate test of a vehicle's endurance due to the severe weather, the isolation, and the constant wear from large trucks. And the fact that it connects the oil-rich Prudhoe Bay region to the rest of Alaska's transportation network makes it one of the most important and dangerous roads in the country. Thanks for traveling with me, everybody. I'll see you next time. Thank you to our channel members.